Hey everybody, Mr. Siegel here, taking a break from my virtual Easter to show you the next math lesson. We're going to be doing the next chapter, which is chapter 8. It's a really short chapter, so we should be able to do it in a week. It's on multiples of fractions, and when you hear multiples, what do you think of? You listen to the word multiples, you think multiplication. So we're going to be doing multiplication of fractions. And so now if you know your multiplication tables, if you have your multiplication facts down, you're going to do really well at this. If you're still shaky on that, and I can't think of a better time to really brush up on your multiplication facts. We're going to start easy. We're going to only be using unit fractions. And as we come over here, a unit fraction is a fraction that has a numerator of 1. So it's already in simplest forms. An example of a unit fraction could be 1 over anything, 1 over 6. And what we're going to do are two things. We're going to show a fraction as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction, and then we're going to list multiples, the same way we do for whole numbers. So if I take a fraction, well, let's just look at whole numbers. We know that 12 is equal to 4 plus 4 plus 4. And another way to write that as a multiplication problem is 12 is equal to 3 groups of 4, or 3 times 4. We're going to be doing the exact same thing with fractions. If we take a fraction, let's say 3/4, we could look at that as a sum of unit fractions, the unit fractions being 1/4, or as a multiplication problem, 3/4 is going to equal 3, which, by the way, is your numerator, times the unit fraction. And that's what you're going to do. The whole number is going to be the numerator, and you're going to times it by the unit fraction, which is basically the same denominator, so the denominator stays the same. But to make it a unit fraction, it's just going to be 1 over that denominator. So the next thing we're going to do after that is we're going to be finding multiples of fractions. Now, we did this a lot in class, finding multiples of numbers. What are the multiples of 4? Well, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. And this goes on, it goes on forever. We're going to do the same thing with fractions. So let's take 1/4, which is a unit fraction. 1/4 times 1 is 1/4. 1/4 times 2 is 2/4. You're multiplying the whole number by the numerator and leaving the denominator the same. 1/4 times 3 is 3/4. 1/4 times 4 is 4/4. And so on and so forth. It goes on forever. So now we're going to use some of the things we talked about with fractions, like changing improper fractions into mixed numbers. You might have to do that here. Not the first couple days, we're not going to be doing that, but eventually you're going to have mixed numbers that you're going to have to change into improper fractions, and have improper fractions like 5/4 that you might need to change back into a mixed number. But we're starting very simple with unit fractions, and which is basically multiplying 1 times the number, and we know that when you multiply 1 times the number, you're just going to get that number. And as always, the denominator is going to stay the same. Later on in the week, we'll be simplifying fractions and converting improper to mixed numbers. So if you did a good job on your fractions review last week, you should have no problems with this. Very quick chapter, pretty easy, and I hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you soon.